All right, so this is the video for the equations of lines review. Um, I know we didn't really have time in class to do this, so that's why I'm making a video for it. You really do need to do the questions and study tonight, because if you study, this quiz is not hard. If you don't study, it's going to be tough. So it really comes down to you working hard tonight and figuring it out. So firstly, it says line segment AB has those coordinates. We'd like to find the midpoint. Well, you need to know your formulas. So your midpoint formula is just your average of your x's and your average of your y's, otherwise known as x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. So x1 and x2, I would literally label x1, y1, x2, y2, and then you can plug in. So x1 is 5 plus x2 is 3 over 2, and y1 and plus y2 is negative 2 plus negative 8 over 2. And 5 plus 3 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. What you can't do on the calculator is the following. This is what you can't do. I can't get that. I gotta go to the computer and grab it. This is what some people are doing. They're doing 5 plus 3 divided by 2. That's going to give you 6.5. That's the wrong answer. What you need to do is 5 plus 3, figure out what that is, and then divide by 2. Or if you want to get fancy, you can press alpha, y equals, enter if you have the new operating system, and do 5 plus 3 over 2. I mean, I think this is a little overkill. What you can't do is the first thing that I showed you. So don't do that. 4 is the right answer, and then negative 2 plus negative 8 is negative 10, divided by 2 is negative 5. There's your midpoint. Okay? Find the slope of line segment AB. You got to know the slope formula. If you don't know the slope formula, it's going to be tough for you tomorrow. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Got to know that by heart. Remember, my analogy for slope is when the bell rings, you get up first. That's the y direction. That happens first. So y2 is negative 8 minus y1, which is, we're subtracting from the formula, and then we're dumping in negative 2, divided by x2, which is 3, minus 5. So negative 8 minus negative 2 becomes negative 8 plus 2, which is negative 6, over 3 minus 5, which is negative 2. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is a positive 3 over 1, or just positive 3 for your slope. All right, next question. We have segment AB that has a midpoint, and we know A is 7, negative 5, and we'd like to find B. We're given a midpoint, so I showed you, there's other ways to do this, but I showed you this way. Kind of list them in order. You'll be able to figure out B. So my thing is, you got to be able to figure out what's going on. So from 7 to 4, you're going down 3. So you just do it again. You do it to the 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. And that's the x-coordinate. Because literally the midpoint is in the middle. It's directly in between those two. So if you figure out how the numbers are changing from 7 to 4, you apply that again. And then from negative 5 to negative 1, you're going up 4. Do it again, up 4, negative 1 plus 4, positive 3. There's your answer. All right, next question. A lot of you are kind of complaining about this one, but it's not hard. Find the midpoint of segment DE with those coordinates. We're finding the midpoint, so we're going to use the midpoint formula. So midpoint formula, I'm going to label my numbers. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So my x1 and my x2 are 11a plus a over 2. And then my y1 and my y2 are 4b plus 2b over 2. Now 11a plus a is 12a. You're adding like terms. This is where people kind of freaked out today. 4b plus 2b is 6b. And now 12a divided by 2 is just 6a. 6b divided by 2 is 3b. And there's our point, 6a comma 3b. You have to have the letters in there. And also remember, a plus a is not a squared. You're adding your like terms, so you're keeping your variables. All right, number 4 says we're writing the equation of a line passing through these points. Now, I want you to understand something. Some people were saying that this is trying to do this as the perpendicular bisector. I'm not asking that. I'm just asking for the equation of the line. So no perpendicular stuff, no midpoint, just want to write the equation of the line passing through these 2 points. So writing the equation of the line, y equals mx plus b, I need to figure out what the m is, and eventually I need to figure out what the b is. Well, I gave you 2 points. So I'm going to use the slope formula, because that's what m stands for, to figure out the slope. So I have my x1, my y1, the x2, the y2. So y2 is negative 8 minus y1, which is negative 9, over x2, oh, sorry, not negative 9. That's bad. Negative 8 minus 2 over x2, which is negative 4, minus from the formula, negative 9. And this is the other thing. People are just messing up their integers. That's something that you have to just be careful with. So negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. Negative 4 minus negative 9 becomes plus 9. So negative 4 plus 9 is 5. And negative 10 over 5 is negative 2 over 1. Or just do this in your calculator. Here is your slope. We will take this slope and plug it right in here. So we have y is equal to now negative 2x plus b. They gave us 2 points, negative 9, 2, and negative 4, negative 8. Choose one of them. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to choose negative 9, 2, and I'm going to take its x and y and plug them in for x and y. So I'm going to say 2 equals negative 2 times negative 9 plus b. So we have 2 equals negative 2 times negative 9 is 18 plus b minus 18, and b is negative 16. And now we got to write our final answer. So I want to take my slope, y-intercept, and write down my final good answer here, which is going to be y is equal to negative 2x minus 16. Box it in. There's the final answer. All right, next one. Write the equation line that is parallel to the given line and passes through this point. So once you see write the equation of the line, you should write down y equals mx plus b. And we have to figure out what the m is, and we have to figure out what the b is. Then, as I said, the 9th period, this is Noah, what I'm highlighting. This equation is Noah, and we're going to solve Noah for y and then steal his slope. So we have 2x minus y equals 15. Subtract 2x on both sides. We get negative y is negative 2x plus 15. Divide by negative 1. Remember, there's a negative 1 in front of here. So we get y is a negative 2 divided by a negative 1 is a positive 2x. A positive 15 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 15. I want to take this guy's slope because the lines are parallel to each other. So if the lines are parallel to each other, they have the same slope. So I'm going to steal this slope and put it in for m in the line that we want to create. Not the line that they gave us, it's the line that we want to create. All right, so now we have its slope, and now we have to use the point. They gave us negative 3, 4. So they gave us an x and a y coordinate. So we have 4 equals 2 times negative 3 plus b. So we have 4 equals 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Add the 6 over. B is 10. So now we can kind of glue our final answer together. We have y equals 2x plus 10. And there it is. All right, number 6. We're going to write the equation of the line that is perpendicular. So a little different now, perpendicular to a line with this equation. And it passes through that point. So once we see write the equation, we're writing y equals mx plus b. But this time, when we take Noah over here, we're going to find its slope, but we're going to do something a little different. So we're still going to subtract 6x. We have negative 8y equals negative 6x plus 12 divided by negative 8. A negative 6 divided by negative 8 is a positive 3 over 4. You always have to simplify before you do anything fancy. A positive 12 divided by a negative 8 is negative 3 over 2. But here's the deal. I want a perpendicular line. So when I steal this slope from Noah, I'm not going to steal it as 3 over 4. I'm going to change it to the negative reciprocal, which means, okay, if I don't see any signs, meaning the number is positive, I'm going to make it negative. And then I'm going to interchange the numerator and denominator, getting negative 4 over 3. This is the perpendicular slope, and that's the one that we would like to steal. So I'm stealing that slope, and now we have y equals my stolen slope but modified for a perpendicular line. And there it is. And now I have to put in my point 6, -1. So 6, -1, we have -1 equals -4/3 times 6 plus b. So I have -1 equals -4/3 times 6 is -8. If you want to do that real quick, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times -4 is -8. Or do -4 times 6, which is -24, divided by 3, which is -8. Adding 8 to both sides, b is 7. So now I have to wrap up my final package here, which is y equals -4/3 x plus 7. Next question, number 7. Write the equation of the line. Oh boy, again, once we see these words, y equals mx plus b is what we're thinking. That's perpendicular to this line with a y-intercept of 11. So again, we have Noah, which I keep writing in blue, but I need to write in red. Got to solve it for y. Which I'm just kind of doing here at this point. Oops. I'm just dividing by 3 here. I'll erase this and try again. So I get y is -1x plus 4. Now again, I want a perpendicular line. So I want to do something with this slope. I have to take the negative reciprocal. So it's negative to begin with. I want to make it positive, and I'm going to interchange just the number in the numerator, number in the denominator, which is going to give me 1/1. So I'm going to take this is my perpendicular slope, and steal it. So I'm going to write y equals, it's just a 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So we have 1x plus b. Now what's cool about this question is that they didn't give you a point, but they told you the y-intercept was 11. B represents the y-intercept. So we're done. We can just put an 11 there. Now, if you're not sure about this, if you think I'm just kind of doing this by magic, a y-intercept, if you think about what a y-intercept is, a y-intercept lives along the y-axis. So if I had this point here, this is the point 0, 11. So if you wanted to start here, I'm just doing this for people who are like, where's the 11? How can the 11 just go in for b? Well, the x value of that point is 0, and the y is 11. So 11 would equal 1 times 0 plus b. 1 times 0 is 0, and so therefore b is 11. And that's another way you can get it. All right, next question, number 8. Are the following lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Explain your answer. You got to solve them for y, first thing. So we get 2y is -1x. I put the 1 in there. It's going to be much easier if we do that. And divide by 2. And y is -1/2x plus 7/2. And here's my slope. It's -1/2 because I care about comparing the slopes. Now I'll go to 2x minus y is 4. Subtract 2x from both sides. So we get -y is -2x plus 4. Divide by -1. And I know I'm going through this fast, but you guys can just kind of rewind here. -2 divided by -1 is 2. So my slope here is 2/1. So if you notice, the slopes have different signs, and the number and the 1 and the 2 and the 2/1 are exchanged. So these are what we call negative reciprocals. So they have negative reciprocal slopes, so the lines are perpendicular. Okay? All right, let's try B. B, we have 3x plus 5y is 15, and 5x plus 3y is 15. Subtract 3x. We're still solving for y. 5y is -3x plus 15, divided by 5 on everything. So y is -3/5x plus 5. -3/5 is my slope. Keep that in the back of my mind. And now I'll go to the next one and solve for y again. So we get 3y is -5x plus 15 divided by 3. So y is -5/3x plus 5. My slope is -5/3. Now, those are reciprocals, but they're not negative reciprocals. Okay? Because they don't have different signs. They're not negative reciprocals. So the lines are neither parallel nor perpendicular. In order for the lines to be parallel, they have to have the same slope, the same exact slope. So for example, -3/5 here, the slope would have to be -3/5 over there, and it's not. All right, two more here. It says write the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line segment passing through those 2 points. I'll do this one more graphically. So I have 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 7, 8. And -1, -4. Sorry. I don't know why I'm writing anything. Perpendicular, okay? Perpendicular means we have a negative reciprocal slope going on. So I definitely need the slope of these two, of the line segment connecting these 2 points. I probably should do that. Just connect the points. There we go. I'm a little off, I'm assuming. There we go. That's good. Okay. So my slope formula is y2 minus y1. And again, if you don't know this, this is bad stuff. I mean, we're using it so much, you should get it by now. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll label x1 y1, x2 y2. And we have, let's see, -4 minus 1. Oh, boy, that's not good. Sorry. Let's try that again. -4 is y2. Y1 is 8. Wow. Sorry. -4 minus 8 divided by x2 is -1 minus 7. That's better. And we get -12 divided by -8, which is 3/2. Okay? Now, that's the slope, but we want a perpendicular line. So I'm going to take the negative reciprocal of the slope, and here's my slope. Now I also need the midpoint. Midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. x1 plus x2 would be 7 plus -1 over 2. y1 plus y2 would be 8 plus -4 over 2. 7 plus -1 is 6 over 2. 8 plus -4 is 4 over 2. So we get a midpoint of 3, 2. And if you look at our picture here, that does seem to be the midpoint. So I'll put my midpoint in, I'll pick a color eventually here, red. There's my midpoint. Now you can do a couple of things on the graph now. What we can do is start at this midpoint and apply a slope of -2 over 3. So I'm going to do that. I'm applying the perpendicular slope. Down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. Now if I wanted to go the opposite direction, if I wanted to get into like the 4th quadrant, say I would go up 2 to the left 3. Up 2 to the left 3. And there's my perpendicular bisector. There it is. Okay, and hit that, but here we go. Boop. There we go. There's the perpendicular bisector. Now what's its equation? Well, I can look at the graph now and get the equation. Y equals, well, I know the slope is -2 over 3, x, plus its y-intercept. So the y-intercept of this new line that we just drew is right here, what I marked in yellow. It's +4. So we're done. So on a graph, you can read off the y-intercept pretty quickly. Okay? Now on the next one, we got to do this totally algebraically. So we're writing the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line segment connecting -7, 2 and 5, -4. Again, perpendicular, we got to get the slope and find its negative reciprocal. So we're going to do that. We'll label our points x1, y1 and x2, y2. So y2 is -4 minus y1, which is 2, divided by x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is -7. -4 minus 2 is -6. 5 minus -7 is 12. And -6 divided by 12 is -1 over 2. We want a perpendicular slope. So this would be the negative of a negative, which is a positive, and take the reciprocal 2 over 1. Now I need the midpoint. Midpoint formula, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. x1 plus x2 would be negative 7 plus 5 over 2. y1 and y2 is 2 plus negative 4 over 2. So negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. And 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2 over 2. It also happens to be negative 1. Now, since we're doing this algebraically, okay, we have to merge these two things together. Whoops, sorry about that. What happens when the smartboard's just a tiny bit off. Here we go. Now, what people do is they say, all right, well, I have these 2 points, right? And I'm going to use one of them. That's not correct. If you think about going back to the last problem, the perpendicular bisector cannot pass through this endpoint or this endpoint. Otherwise, it's not a bisector. It's got to go through the midpoint. It's got to go through the red point. So in this problem, we have to use the midpoint that we just got. We have to use negative 1, 1. Oh, sorry, negative 1, negative 1. We can't use the other points, and we have to use this slope. Those are the 2 things we have to use to form the equation. So the equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. Okay? And I'm using this slope, the 2 over 1, and this point's x and y coordinates to solve for b. So here we go. Y is negative 1 equals 2 over 1 times negative 1 plus b. Negative 1 equals 2 over 1 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides, and b is 1. And so my final answer here is going to be y equals my slope 2 over 1. I'm just going to leave it as a 2. X plus my y-intercept we just found, which is 1. And there's the answer, y equals 2x plus 1.